first entertain an approval of the agenda. Favor? Aye. Opposed? Time for public comments. Public comment guidelines. Each individual will state their name and have 3 minutes to address the board. You may only address the board once under this public comment opportunity and may not yet yield your time to others. Board members will not debate or answer questions at this time. Public comment.
Ready? John, are we on?
You were on.
Okay. I take this opportunity this afternoon, I guess it's afternoon now, to introduce myself. And I'm Jim Shotwell, as far as what you might have heard from other people around here. I've been serving the county for the last, it can't be 42 years. I thought of that and I thought, no, it can't be that long. But I've been on Lifeway's board for the last 22 years. Prior to that, I served in your spot as a commissioner for 10 years. Actually, 10 years. And I've grown to understand a lot of the things that the county has to do and some of the limitations that you have too. I'm here to ask you to reappoint me to the Lifeways board, which I have a real fondness for. I serve on their various committees. I serve as parliamentarian for Lifeways and also for the state board. I am the chairman of the legislative committee on the state board. And so I seem to keep busy on all of those boards. I've had, because, and most foremost reason is the fact that I've got some experience in almost anything on the Lifeways, and where I don't have it on Lifeways, I tend to have it on the county board side of the agendas. If anybody would like to ask me anything, feel free to, and if not, I know you're not allowed to carry on a dialogue with the people that are addressing you, so I wouldn't get into that, but I'm available for any questions and answers after the meeting. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other public comment? All right, let's move to acceptance of the minutes from the February 10th meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we go to 4B, appointments. Okay. Can I say anything on that? Yeah. Okay. First appointment is Lifeways Secondary Consumer. Term expires 3/20/22. Jim Shotwell, Sr., applicant Jim Shotwell, Sr. And I would like to say that I am on the Lifeways board, and I'm still not sure what goes on over there, whether all their abbreviations and so on. And Mr. Shotwell is very, very knowledgeable, and he's been there with the experience. He knows what's going on, and I would recommend him. But that's me. Okay, so we voted this?
Yep.
Okay. Any other applicants from the audience, from the commissioners? All in favor? Opposed? All right, next is Veterans Affairs. Congratulations, Mr. Shotwell. Next is Veterans Affairs, Public Representative. At the term ends 3/20/24. Current members Virginia Maitland. There are no applicants. Next is Department on Aging Advisory Council. The term ends, Public Representative, the term ends 12/20/21. It's vacant. We have an application from Felicia Richmond.
I'll move to send Felicia Richmond to the full board.
All in favor? Next is a public representative, 12/20/20. The previous one is deceased, and that application is open. Then if we go down to Sanitary Code Board of Appeals, well driller, licensed sewage systems installer, alternate public seat, all, as in the past, have been vacant, and there's no applications for that. Daniel Mahoney has resigned from the Sanitary Code Board of Appeals, and the alternate commissioner spot is also vacant, and that term ends 1/20/21. MALPH, Commissioner HS Committee Member, term expires 1/20/21. Current members Dan Mahoney, and there are no current applicants. So, with this, can we move all these on to the full board? Okay. Motion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we go to Lifeway's monthly report.
Good afternoon, Shannon Clevenger from Lifeways. I'll just do some overviews from the information you received in your packet. The first thing is we are nearing completion of our Phase 1 demo for our remodel. We have a cross-departmental team working on a SAMHSA grant application for a certified community behavioral health clinic, and the remodel that we're doing will allow space for an integrated primary care physician in that space. So it's very exciting that we're getting close to the end of Phase 1 remodel. Lifeways has applied for a Michigan Department of Health and Human Services state block grant to expand our intensive crisis and support services for children. We are in the second round. We are participating in a practice transformation around value-based contracting with one of our providers, our current providers, and we're aimed at a high-cost service to reduce inpatient utilization. We recently had our CARF accreditation, and we had no recommendations. This accomplishment is achieved by only 3% of the CARF surveys done nationally. We also recently had our mid-state audit on February 5th and 6th. It was in regards to compliance with the delegated management care functions and a review of our corrective action plan, and we had no findings of non-compliance. We also annually submit to Michigan Department of Health and Human Services data on the point of entry service for individuals served by us. The following are some highlights relative to this data, which combines both counties, so this is both Hillsdale and Jackson. Increase of people walking in or telephoning for services went from 15,794 in fiscal year 18 to 23,899 in fiscal year 19. Of those people who were screened, we saw a decrease from 6% to 3% who did not meet eligibility requirements. We also saw a decrease of those referred out for services from 9% to 4%, and the percentage of no-shows or drops out remains very low at 1.5%. Overall, this data reflects that we are serving more individuals in our community and connecting them with more services at Lifeways.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you very much for
Thank
a
you.
nice report. DHSS quality report.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to go over a couple of things with you in terms of what's happening at the Department of Health and Human Services. Our child care fund update. So as you probably know, in previous years, the county has paid, when children go into foster care and they are county funded, the county has paid first and the state then has reimbursed the county. That has been changed for this year and all years moving forward in that the state pays first. And so the amount of money that the county is now spending for our children placed in foster care, even though it may end up being the same amount of money, the amount of money that the county actually expends for early is going to be a lot less. So Our current spreadsheet is showing us that, so we're on a state fiscal year, so October 1st. We have 4 months that have passed of the state budget. We have, which equates to 33.3% of the year. We have used only 11.5% of the budget, so we're at a third of the spending after 4 months of the year have passed. So we want to monitor that for just a little bit longer, and I feel like with a couple more months, next time I report quarterly, we'll have a pretty solid feeling for how much it's going to cost the county moving forward. But wanted to let you all know that seems to be going well. It does, yes. Universal caseloads is a new system that's being piloted in Jackson and other counties around the state, although it is not fully statewide. You may have seen some media coverage around universal caseloads and the fact that our department director is studying it closely with his experts, and we are involved currently in a proof of concept. So they have sort of one more last-ditch effort to see if this is going to work or not. And Jackson is actually involved in that, along with Bay and Aranac County. By the end of June, we hope to have, as a department, a pretty good feel for whether universal caseloads is going to be something that we move forward on for the entire state. And we think that there will either be we're all going to move to universal caseloads, or we're all going to go back to having caseloads per worker. The proof of concept really is a sort of a in-between, where when people come in to apply, the person who takes their application will follow that application through to opening, and then once it's open, it will go into the cloud for further work. This we hope will help both the timeliness of getting cases open, and it will also help with the connection, the sort of human connection piece of our department. So both our staff and our clients who come in are saying that with universal caseloads, people are feeling more like a number than a human face, and so we're hoping that will take care of both of these things. Handle with Care in Jackson County. Handle with Care, of course, is our coordination between law enforcement, schools, and mental health providers to ensure that children who have experienced trauma receive the support that they need in the schools. So we started it in Jackson. It's at over more than 50 counties or districts around the state. And Chief Hitt and I from Jackson Police Department recently presented at the statewide Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police Conference to spread the word about how much we like it here. And then also at the state legislative level, it's getting some attention. So apparently it was talked about at some kind of interaction. I think it was around ACE training at the state legislators. So we have our Handle with Care coordinator at the state level meeting with some of our state legislators to give them some more information, and it would be really great for all of our counties if we got some state legislative support around Handle with Care as well. And I'll be presenting at the local chiefs meeting next week to make sure that as we have turnover in our local law enforcement officers, that we continue to keep it at the forefront for our local community. Jackson YouthNet, as you may recall, is one of our programs around reducing the number of children who are in residential placement. Really, this goal was focused on our county and the amount of money that it costs for a child to be in residential placement specific to our county funds. So it's the same cost whether you're a child that's paid for by state or county funds, but the goal is really to reduce all the children in residential placement, and hopefully if we are able to save the county some money, we would like to take some of that money and make sure that we're able to sustain the work that we're doing and keeping kids in our communities. We have 3 strategies that we've put in place, that we are in the process of putting in place. Some of them are in place and some are in process. One is the creation of what we call a positive person profile. So when children are removed from their parents and we're looking for homes for them, in the attempt to be transparent about what behaviors our kids have had, and the trauma that they have had. What we feel like we have maybe done is over communicated on the negative. So what we end up doing is we end up calling relatives and foster parents and saying, so these are all of Johnny's problems. He's a biter, and he's been suspended from school, and he talks back to authority figures. But we haven't focused on the positive things about our kids. The fact that these are kids who have experienced trauma, that they have hopes and dreams, that Johnny, although he may have some issues with authority, it's because he's been the caretaker for his younger brother and sister for his entire life, and he feels responsible. So this positive person profile is a way for us to engage our youth in a positive way, to find out what their positive attributes are, so that when we're calling foster parents or relatives and saying, we need a safe place for Johnny to stay, that they hear the full picture of what Johnny is like. Our goal in that is that our kids will be able to stay in our community again and not end up in residential placements. The second piece is we're using that positive person profile to help create caring adults in the school system. So we're going to be testing this out in Jackson Public Schools and Northwest. And so our children who are in foster care who attend those schools, we're going to use the positive person profile to help connect them with somebody at the school. It might be a teacher, it might be a counselor, it might be a coach, somebody that they have a connection with that will be sort of their go-to person if they're having a rough day. We hope by that way we will keep kids in school and sort of out of trouble, out of getting into that suspension and expulsion world. And then finally, we're using the positive person profile with our business community. So we're looking at sort of the hopes and dreams of these kids to say, what kinds of businesses do we have in our community? So if Johnny is interested in technology or robotics, what kind of businesses can we connect these kids with so that they have get some training and get some experience, so that when they move out into the world as older children and older adults, they have some supports, maybe even a job when they get out of a foster care or the criminal justice system. So those are our three strategies that we're moving toward, and we're really excited to see how they work in keeping our kids here locally and successful instead of off to the residential system. And then finally, I included, as I do each month, just a list of community meetings and events that either myself or my staff attend, so that county commissioners can get an idea of how involved we are in the community. I would say this is not an all-inclusive list, but it's a pretty good list of what we do within our community. And that's my report for this month.
Excellent report. One question is that in your program here for the youth, I understand the positive aspects of it, but when you have a youth who's delinquent, okay, or does not like authority, or does those kind of things, which is why they're in a home to start with, what is being done to change that behavior and deal with that behavior versus saying, oh, you're a good kid, you're going to do fine, and so on and so forth. I mean, it doesn't wash with me how that's going to cure this.
That's just one. So connecting kids with a caring adult in their school system and making sure that they have a family-like setting to stay in is just one piece of everything that sort of wraps around them to help them through what they're going through. So they would also be involved in therapy, counseling. They might be involved in group programs that help them get the assistance that they need to move forward and sort of out of those negative behaviors. So the goal is to, with these caring adults and with these opportunities, together with the therapy that they receive, that they're going to be able to stay in our community and do so successfully. Yes.
Any other questions?
Just had two quick questions. One for universal caseload. Good afternoon, by the way.
Hello.
Just had two quick questions for you. One, I'm just curious your personal preference on moving forward through you guys' experience in being one of the test sites, I will
Right.
say, for universal caseload. What's your preference if you had a choice on ending it now or moving forward with it? Which do you think would be more beneficial for you guys?
I've been pretty supportive of it, and I'm still supportive of it, although I think like most things, there's always room for improvement. I'm very hopeful that these improvements will just take us to that little, we've made a lot of improvements over the last couple of years, so, but I would also, I mean, if the department decides as a whole, we're going to go back the other direction. A lot of it is about staffing. We're like 4 or 5 people short of being able to do it all well. But there's formulas around allocations and all of that. So my manager, my director has been very supportive. We've had help over the last couple of years at different periods of time. So other counties send people here to help us. And whenever we have that help, it goes really well. But then they have to go back, and when that happens, then it sort of starts to slide again. So we're hoping that these changes will actually make those 4 or 5 positions not necessary. I still feel pretty positive about it. And really the goal, if we can get people what they need in a timely manner, that's key.
I think I've asked this question before. I can't remember. I'm curious how much communication is sent to the parents themselves about their ability to send that same message. I know that we do a lot of training with the with the police and our first responders to be able to send that message. But I think that there are several situations that happen within people's families where if the family was notified that they could send a handle with care to school for their child or for a younger family member, that it would be really beneficial, because I think this is just such a great program that we offer here.
Right. So we have brought that forward as a conversation at our state advisory. Our goal with our state advisory is to give everybody the same direction in the state that's doing it. So we have brought that forward as our state advisory as we put our final policies and procedures in place. And then once we have that, we hope to spread it out to the counties as well. But we agree that it's a great opportunity for really community involvement at the schools. So we agree with you on that. Thank you. All done? Thank you.
Good afternoon. So, quick introductions of myself and staff. I'm Bill Slate. I'm Director of Michigan Works Southeast. Been back here for a couple of years now. Angela Watkins, you probably all know, is our Service Center Manager here in Jackson. And Shamar Heron will be joining us as well, our Deputy Director. And our newest staff person is Tom Robinson. Tom is our new Business Service Manager. He'll be based in Jackson, but we'll cover all 5 counties. So wanted to get him involved as well. He's been here, this is his 6th day on the job, so he's a veteran. So go over a little bit about Michigan Works Southeast and about the region we serve as a, let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Is that going to work? There we go. So our region covers 5 counties, Hillsdale, Lenawee, Livingston, Jackson, and Washtenaw counties, and a population of about 865,000 people in those 5 counties. Jackson's about 20 to 25% of our population base. We have about 160,000 people in Jackson County out of our 865,000. We serve a labor force of about 445,000 people, and about 75,000 of those are in Jackson County. We're experiencing as a region and certainly as a community some of our lowest unemployment rates in certainly recent memory. Our region's unemployment rate is about 2.6%, and Jackson's a little higher than that, but still historically low at 3%. But still, there's about 11,500 people that are out of work in our 5 counties, about 2,200 here in Jackson County. And some of the things we're working on the most is, the folks that are unemployed have some serious issues or problems that they're facing. But we're also looking at the ALICE population, those folks that are working but are still earning incomes that are just slightly above the poverty level. And Jackson County is really higher than our region's average there, and really higher than the state average as well. About 42% of Jackson County's citizens are in that sort of ALICE category. So a lot of our programming is focused on bringing those people that are working, but working in lower wage jobs, and making sure that they have the skills to be successful and advance in their careers. So if we take a look at some of the trends that we're seeing that are, again, informing our work at Michigan Works, although our population in the region, broader region, and this is really south, all of sort of the southern part of the state, so although the region's growing, we still won't reach the levels we were at in 2001 until a little later in this decade, maybe 2027, 2028. Probably scarier for economic prosperity is that by 2026, the number of those that are age 65 and over, those easing out of the working labor force, those numbers will exceed the number of children under 18. So the folks moving into the labor force will be a lower number than the folks moving out. That's not a good recipe for long-term economic prosperity. You want to make sure that you have a labor force that can handle the demands of the companies here in the region. And when you combine that with also lower labor force participation rates, we could be facing a situation where our companies don't have the workers that they need to be successful. And unless we can attract workers from other parts of the state, other parts of the country, and even other parts of the world, we may be constraining the growth potential of our companies here in the region. So those, again, are some of the bigger trends we're looking at. And again, with the low unemployment rates, we're also seeing labor force shortages and labor shortages across almost every key sector of our economy. And really, even among those that are looking for work, they don't necessarily have the skill sets that the employers are demanding. When you combine that also with a job market and jobs that are rapidly changing, a lot of the jobs that our kids are going to be joining in 5, 10 years haven't even been invented yet, and the jobs that are there are changing the skill set so rapidly that we need to continually upgrade skills. So we can't just prepare people for skills and jobs once. We have to continually do that throughout their working career. So we need to really change our institutions, change our culture to make sure that we're preparing workers for the jobs that are out there, giving the skill sets that they need to be successful, and continually upgrading those skills so that they continue to be successful in their careers. So those are just some of the broader trends we see. I don't really need to go through our history a whole lot. Jackson County and the other 5 counties did form an Urban Cooperation Act agreement a few years ago. Really the only difference this year, we have been contracting with another Michigan Works agency to be our employer of record and to be our fiscal agent for the last several years. And as of January 1st, we took over all of those functions and are now operating really as an agency where we're the employer of record and paying all the bills. And so I spent most of the morning signing checks, and so that's the main difference, I think. So, but we have 5 service centers, one in each of our counties, about 76 staff positions now, probably will grow to 80 to 85 by the end of the year. Most of that staff is really direct service staff. They're working either with our businesses or with our job seekers. And I'm not going to, all the rest of these slides are all in the annual report, so I'm not going to go over them much. I do want to give Angela a chance to talk about what's happening here in Jackson County. and that Shamar will also talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing this year, maybe a little different than what we've done in the past. So just a few highlights, though, from the annual report. We've across our 5 counties, we filled about 5,100 jobs over the past year, served about 2,300 businesses. We had over 70,000 visits to our service centers and served over about 20,700 different individuals during that time. So our audited expenditures are somewhere around $13 million. And we're measured, as all federal workforce or all workforce programs are, on whether we achieve certain performance indicators related to retention in jobs, earnings gains, credentials earned. We have about 16 or 17 of those that we need to maintain, and we exceeded or met all of our required federal performance requirements for last year as well. So those are just some of the highlights, broad highlights of our annual report. I want Angela to come and talk about what's going on here in Jackson County and some of the things we're doing here. So, Angela.
Question?
Yes.
With your projections of the people retiring and the workforce diminishing, okay, in the future, is there an action plan or whatever you're going to try to deal with that?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, the only way you can really address that are by improving productivity of the workers that are coming into the labor force, trying to convince some of the folks leaving not to leave, so to have people work longer, or bring more people in. And so what we can do as a workforce agency is fairly limited on that, and so I raise that because it really presents maybe broader community issues that we need to take a look at. Is this a community that people want to work and want to live and work in? And so I think that there's broader things that we need to do, both policy-wise as communities and really even as a state and nation, that are going to impact that probably a whole lot more than we can. So, but what we can do is prepare people for the jobs that are there, but if you don't have enough people, I can't do much about that with my budget, so.
Thank you. Tough question.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Angela Watkins, Service Center Manager at Michigan Works Southeast. Shamar Herring will cover the Summer 19 Youth Employment. We'll talk a little bit about Vocational Village. It was a partnership with the Cotton Facility at the Vocational Village where individuals are receiving training before they are released. When they're released, some of them are not from this county. They go back to their county. So we received a special grant to be able to go to the facility, do some of the enrollment paperwork, and work with those individuals when they are released to their counties in which they reside in. And we are able to pay for the training even though they're not residing in our county to assist them to train. Majority of them has been the truck driving training. And we've so far we did 71 intakes at the prison. 17 of them we've actually enrolled, and 10 of them have attended classroom training, 6 have completed. But out of the 10 that attended, some of them are still attending the training, and we have 6 that have completed and 8 that have gained employment. Michigan Rehabilitation Service, as you know, has moved back into Michigan Works Southeast. They were at the Department of Health and Human Service building, but they have moved back into Michigan Works Southeast, and we are partnering with them. And we have joint trainings, and we have joint staff meetings to determine how we can serve. Sometimes we're serving the same population, and how to also make referrals to each program. Jobs for Michigan Grads. It's a program or service that we offer to individuals, youth 16 to 24 that live in the community that are at risk or have dropped out of high school. We work with them with the adult education program for them to either go back and obtain their high school diploma or get their GED. Currently, we have 33 youth enrolled in the program. 17 of them have obtained their GED or high school diploma. 25 of them have gained employment, and 2 of them have enrolled in post-secondary education out at Jackson College. And with Jackson College, we're partnering with them. We have two career advisors each semester. When the students are enrolling, they're actually on site talking to the students, telling them about the services we offer to see if we can assist them in paying for their education. Expungement Fair. We partnered with several organizations here in the community, Community Action Agency, Department of Health and Human Service, United Way, and we did an expungement fair at Michigan Works Southeast, August 16th, I think it was a Saturday. We had 165 people show up for that expungement fair. We gave out 43 checks. These were to individuals who their offense was in Jackson County, but it didn't have to just be in Jackson County. We served individuals who had offense at other counties, but it was just the ones in Jackson counties that we could write the checks to. So now we've, the Decriminalization of Poverty group received a special grant, and we're partnering with the library, and they're taking over that expungement. So an individual doesn't have to wait till one day a year. They can go into the Jackson Library right here downtown, the Carnegie branch, and proceed the paper and apply for an expungement. Okay, I think I covered everything. Questions? Yes,
How you doing?
good.
Good. I'm curious, who is the point person at the library for the expungements? Who should we direct people to?
If you contact the library, and like I get calls every week about individuals wanting to get an expungement, I just have them contact the library, and they have staff there that will assist them, and everyone is aware of that. And if they call, there's staff there. There are computers designated to help someone fill out that application.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So again, my name is Shamar Heron. I am the Deputy Director of Michigan Works Southeast, and I have been asked to speak about our Summer Youth Employment Program, as well as some other programs that are happening. But first, I'd like to take a few moments just to give you an update on what has happened over the last summer around summer youth employment. But before I do that, I'd like to give a special thanks to you all as commissioners, Mr. Overton and Deb Kubitsky, who have been phenomenal to work with in terms of processing 35 young people last year going to work. So those are 35 young people who worked either here at the county for the city or private sector employers. And so this is something that our people over at our service center get excited about, because we get to answer Commissioner Tompkins' question of what are we doing to prepare people for the workforce of tomorrow. And what we're doing is exposing our young people. So there's two ways that we get talent. One is we go out and we big fish hunt, and we go to Boston and Chicago and North Carolina and all of these places and say how great it is to work in Jackson County. The other way is we start working with our young people early so that they understand the viability of staying here and working here and continuing to build their community. So we've been practicing an exercise. This is our last county commissioner meeting, and I'm really excited to ask this question of you all, if I may. Mr. Chairman, is who remembers their first work experience? Who remembers the first job that they had? Commissioner Kennedy, do you care to share?
Sure. Paperboy.
Paperboy. Funny enough, how many newspapers are out here now for young people at 12 and 13 years old to take advantage of, right? They're disappearing right before us. Commissioner Tompkins. Busboy, still a viable position, but we're learning that the wages are growing for these positions, so some of our older workers are taking these $14 and $15 an hour jobs and squeezing out those who are inexperienced. Commissioner Mahoney, I think I saw your hand up.
My first job was actually in a summer youth work program.
CETA, maybe? Yep. Anyone else? Mine was at the car wash. The gentleman met me and said, you can wash the top of the vans without a ladder. $1 a car. Some days I made $5, some days I made $50. It depended on the weather. But it gave me and it gave all of you those workforce norms that we talk about. How you behave at work. How do you communicate effectively? How do you handle conflict? And that's what our summer youth employment program is doing. So we're going through a name change. You see it says Summer Youth Program here, but it's really going to be called My Summer Internship. My Summer Internship. So they yelled at me about branding because we had to buy the URL every time the year changed. So you all started in summer 18, and then we had summer 19, and they're like, we're getting tired of buying these URLs. Let's find something that we can use across the board. So My Summer Internship, I'm going to send over the information, but what I've been called to duty to ask of you all is to put a challenge in front of you all. We're not getting enough private sector engagement. So I know some of you know some private sector employers. The county and the city, they step up immediately. Our nonprofit community, they step up immediately. They understand what we're asking of the business community to do. But some of our private sector employers have yet to understand this is pipeline development. This is community engagement. This is your opportunity to have impressions on young people who are going to make a decision. They're going to make a decision to go to work or not go to work. They're going to make a decision to stay in the county or leave the county. And this is the opportunity for us to wrap our arms around them. The young people are telling me, Shamar, you all say go to work, go get a job. Where's our opportunities at? This is our opportunity to show some astute young people. 15 to 20% of these young people are getting employed after the summer program. So these employers see value in these young people and they keep them on afterwards. So about 35 young people last year went to work. They engaged in a way that they didn't expect and the employers didn't expect. And we got to see the value of making those connections. So I'm asking that you all use your contact list, use your resources to help us give more young people the opportunity. They come from every corner of the county, our young people do. It's not just in one area. However, we are seeing that there are some concentrated areas that need more help than others. The opportunity isn't as readily available in every district. So we're trying to make sure that we spread the love, but give the opportunities to those who need it most. So My Summer Internship is growing, and because of you, I expect it'll grow again this year. So last year, it was 35 young people. In summer 18, it was 25 young people. So we'd like to see that trend continue where we're helping more young people. That's strictly around summer youth employment. We also would love for you all to be our VIP guest at an upcoming event over in Hudson, or should I say down in Hudson, at My Career Quest South this April. Is it the 23rd or the 24th? 23rd. April 23rd. It is a hands-on career exploration opportunity for young people to come in and see what the job entails. We have 4 different areas that we're going to be working in: construction, agricultural sciences, healthcare, and I'm forgetting one. Advanced manufacturing, which is sort of the staple of this county. It is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We're going to have about 2,500 young people coming from 5 counties. But this is an opportunity for you to see in real life what the new age of career fairs looks like. No longer do we have employers just standing there with brochures. They're bringing their trucks into the building. They're having competitions around who can hammer nails the fastest. They're talking about the fact that IT is, in fact, across every industry. No longer is IT its own piece. Bill mentioned the other day, some of these tractors have more technology in them than the first mission to Mars. So we got to start to think about the world in a different way and how we engage this new workforce. If you know any of these young people, they know technology better than just about anybody I know, and this is the trend. We are in Industry 4.0, and that's the Internet of Things. So life is changing, and we have to get on board, or we will see sort of the negatives of not engaging our young people. But this event, My Career Quest South, I will be sending that information along with the link to our summer youth employment program. Medicaid work requirements, as we all know, those have been struck down, so we won't talk too much about that. And lastly is our business resource network. So not only are we offering our businesses the opportunity to engage in a younger workforce, we are also giving them the opportunity to reduce turnover. These resource networks are an opportunity for our businesses to have a success coach on site, helping individuals remove barriers that are keeping them from coming to work on time or getting to work at all. So we have some dollars to support those efforts, but we also need your support in making sure that businesses understand this as a real opportunity to advance and reduce turnover, which you all have 3 here. There's something special in the water here in Jackson. I'm not quite sure what it is. I want to keep drinking it and figure it out, but you all have sort of the blueprint for how it should be done, and our partnership with the United Way has been fantastic. But those are just a couple things that are happening this year, and we want to make sure we give a special thanks to Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Mahoney. They serve on our consortium board. They represent you very well. They always have intriguing questions. They're always pushing the ball forward, and so I commend you too. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Thompson, or Commissioner Thompson, for allowing us to speak. And with that, I will entertain any questions.
Is there anything that's done for the number of high school students who graduate and then leave to go to colleges elsewhere outside the county? Okay, it seems like we're losing a big pool of talent there and trying to get them back. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, it's that's a tough question. I don't know. How do we retain talent is basically what he's asking.
Yeah, I've seen one model that's used in Washtenaw County is they have every year they have an event around town where it's directed toward the IT jobs, where they just bring people back around Thanksgiving and have sort of a crawl around the community of jobs that are available. So there are some things that other communities are doing to bring those college students back. But I think one thing you do is what Shamar talked about, is getting them engaged early on before they leave for college so that they know that there's opportunities there. And I think the other thing, to work with our businesses on internships and apprenticeships as well, to make sure that there's, again, opportunities for that age group. Yeah, all the communities lose their young folks. The trick is, and we know they're going to do that, the trick is how many of them are going to come back, so.
And the state used to have a program called Michigan, where we would go out and sort of do some of that big fish hunting that I talked about earlier, where we go to the coast and we say, hey, do you miss your state yet? Do you miss paying normal rates for rent and housing and affordability and cost of living? Well, come on back home and you can still keep your family intact and afford to live here. So those kinds of efforts have sort of went away, but I think it was, there's a cost or return on investment, but I think it was well worth the money to go back out and let people know, hey, Michigan is still a viable state.
Good afternoon. Just a really quick question in regards to the My Summer Internship. Well, 2 questions. One is the application for the kids already released.
It is.
Okay, perfect. And then my second question, and I know we talked about it in our last meeting, so I'm sure if it's not already available that it's being worked on, but the one-pager that we talked about creating to be able to pass out to businesses,
Yep.
if we could have that, that would make it a lot easier for commissioners to share that with their network to help get some more private industry businesses involved.
So I had that meeting right prior to this one, and they're working on finalizing that now. So I'll send that along with my follow-up email.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. One's kind of a follow-up to that. You mentioned you needed more assistance from business in the private sector. Are you talking that you need businesses that need positions filled, or are you talking, that's what we're talking about? So, I know a few that, frankly, there's a labor shortage. How do they get, I guess, on your list of active employers?
So that's a two-part question. I'll answer the second part first, if you
Okay.
don't mind. We have a link that I'm going to send you where they can apply for the My Summer Internship portion. And it's just that, it's an internship, and we look at it as a feeder system. We service 16 to 24-year-olds, so some of our young people have graduated and they're trying to figure out what's next. Some of our young people are going back to high school the next year. So not all of our population of young people will be eligible to take on full-time positions, but this is an opportunity for those who are looking past the summer to get the experience, and it's sort of a tester for both. Is the culture what the young person is looking for or can work with? Is this young person talented and capable enough to take on the position that the business is looking for in full-time? So this is a feeder system, if you may. So there is the opportunity in that link.
Is this the link that an employer would go to and post a job, or?
Nope. So the way it works is they'll give us some ancillary information, then they'll talk about a job description.
Okay.
And then our young people are taking assessments where the assessment will tell them the types of positions they're looking for or capable of doing. And then we pair the two based on the job description that the employer gives us and the job assessment that the young person takes.
Okay, and then,
So if there's just a general question about filling positions with companies, we have a staff of business service coordinators that can work with the company, analyze their broader needs, and come up with some solutions to them. So they can just call our office anytime, and we'll send a staff person out to meet with them.
okay, thank you. And then my second question, I think you'll be able to address it the best, is you had mentioned possibly fill-ins in the future, the labor shortage with potentially people from other countries. And I happen to know a lot of people that quite frequently ask me for avenues out of poverty in Jamaica, and I'm wondering, is there any assistance with the work visa program? Because if you haven't ever been involved in it, it's quite complicated and it's quite costly.
And well, the visa programs that are bringing, say in our hospitality industry, are bringing folks in from Jamaica and some of the other islands, they're still in place. I think there's fewer visas being issued right now.
Okay.
And so that's a broader national policy issue.
That's kind of
we
my
need to
question. So
address.
in other words, Michigan Works doesn't have,
I don't have
the
any
pull,
semantic
right.
answers
Yeah,
there
gotcha.
as well, but I know that certainly when we're talking with our colleagues in, say, in northern Michigan, for example, they're really stretched thin right now because I think it's in, I forget which visa it is, but the visa that brings people in for temporary seasonal jobs. They're still there, but there are fewer of them, and certainly the H-1B visas, which are bringing in professionals, again, those are still in place, again, lower numbers than in the past. But, you know, that's...
you answered my question. It's more federal policy than anything.
It's really more...
Okay.
We do contract with Jewish Family Services in Washtenaw County. They work with refugees that are coming into our communities. And so, again, those numbers are down as well. But so when the folks are in, we can certainly support them. And but I can't do much to bring them in. So.
Any other questions, Commissioner? Thank you for an excellent
Thank you
report.
for the time.
And Shamir, nice socks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Got to distract you from up here.
Oh, yeah.
We need to put a motion forward to...
Is that on your agenda here? So I can talk to that if you want.
Yes,
You're asking for name change?
So we are asking to change the name of the Southeast Michigan Consortium, which was the formal legal name that we incorporated under 5 years ago when all the 5 boards formed a consortium. At that point, we didn't really know what our name was going to be. And so we're going to change the name to the Michigan Works Southeast Consortium.
So you're changing the legal documents.
legal name
and therefore you need
and-
5.
And so I need each of the 5 county boards of commissioners to approve a resolution approving that name change.
Yep.
Then we also have to get permission from the Attorney General and the Governor as well, just to change their name. But we think that name will be a little less confusing than the one we're using right now. So we'd appreciate your support.
Motion to approve, go ahead.
Do we have a resolution?
Took the words right out of my mouth, Tony. Took the words right out of my mouth. Here a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Just to be clear. To be clear here, you don't actually have a resolution, right? You're just making a request to
There is a resolution that our attorneys have drafted. If you don't have it, we can certainly get it to you.
Is it on there? Okay, good.
So. And certainly if that doesn't meet your needs, we'll work with you to make sure it does, but it was drafted by our civil counsel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marcy, you're up.
You want Department of Aging now, or medical care, or?
Medical care.
I thought we had
Medical care.
Yeah.
There's nobody here from medical care facility.
Well, we can still, if there's questions, ask about the existing report.
Any questions, commissioners, about the existing report?
Reviewing the December 31st, 2019 document, I noticed that there's a deficit of $1.8 million year-to-date. I would formally ask the Chair of the Human Services Committee to reach out to the medical care facility for an explanation on this and what their solution is to put this together. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a large deficit that's going to be put on us to fix. Okay? That's why I'm asking that question. We need to reach out to them and find a solution for this. If you read through their administrative services, clinical support services, and other items, they have deficits across the board that are exceeding 10% of a category. So I think that an explanation from the medical care facility body or Human Services would return to this body next month with an explanation on how they intend to fix this. I know that our staff has met with them repeatedly and made suggestions, and there's been just a ignore attitude. And I would really appreciate if our administrator's office would reach out to them and get us an answer. It would be very nice.
I know that once that question was asked, we were told that because of the construction, they didn't have enough, the same amount of beds open, therefore they weren't accepting patients and they were losing money that way. That's one time that they said that, okay? And then another time, Deb went over and talked to them and said, you know, this is not right, you need to cut back here, you don't need a full complement of nurses if you only have 75%, occupancy and so on. So I agree that, when I looked at that last night, I go, whoa. So I think that, yeah, we do need to have them come and explain themselves next meeting.
Well, I believe finance is a hired outside firm, correct, Deb?
Yes.
And they can't even budget themselves correctly for 12 months on what their expense is going to be? That should be a budgeted item contracted on contract base.
Mhm.
So that would be one example of something that we need to get an explanation for and work our way through the whole thing, please. We had to do this 10 years ago. It's unfortunate, but we're going to have to figure this out so that way we don't end up with a deficit and something that we have to pay. I know our budget couldn't effectively counter without massive layoffs at the county. I remember, that we reduced staff here at the county 12 years ago to the tune of around 69 employees. And that wasn't even $1.8 million. So think of the hit.
So can you call them and make sure they show up?
Well, sure. Actually, won't Deb first maybe give them a little update? I know you've had conversations. I was there, was it 2 or 3 months ago? I was there, and as a matter of fact, I went there for nothing other than the budget to explain to them that they cannot continue to be in a deficit position, and implored them to do something about it, that they need to clear it up. Since that time, Deborah, what would you say has been the conversation with their board?
Unfortunately, I missed the meeting for February because we had a court date scheduled.
To be clear, they have a 3-person board, one of which is appointed by the state and 2 by this body. I hate to say it this way, but the conversation was so frank that I reminded them that the county does not have to be in this business at all. There are some counties that are not in this business. And I assured them we could not afford to just carry their deficit year after year as well. So I know they've heard the message. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but it may very well be that the 2 of our 3 people there need to really need to make sure administration understands the jeopardy they're in.
Cecilia, our finance director, has also been going to every meeting and making sure she's monitoring the numbers. So her and I, between the 2 of us, I usually make every meeting except for last month, and Cecilia's usually there as well. So we have posed questions. Cecilia's monitoring as best as she can what's going on. And so we've pushed pretty hard. So.
Go ahead. Sorry, Cody.
Thank you. First thing I noticed looking at this document, nobody had enough pride in their work and their position here to put their name on it. Who runs this organization? And there's no address on this for where their facility even exists. I mean, I'm not familiar with it. So I'm not seeing much pride in these people's work. Can somebody tell me who put together this form? Who's the individual?
I don't know.
Deb, it just seems that if the other nursing homes in the area aren't going belly up, why is there a consistent pattern of them doing the same thing?
Sorry, I'm having issues with my microphone here. I brought this up to them last February, a year ago, with my concerns with regard to the consistent loss in numbers, because at that point there had been a year of numbers. So I brought it up last February, so I've been speaking up about it for over a year now. So I can't specifically answer what. It appears to be staffing is a significant portion of most people's budgets, but I've discuss with them creative ways to look at your budget, to review your budget, to hold off expenditures. For example, you know, a medical care facility, I'm assuming they buy wheelchairs. Okay, maybe you buy wheelchairs every 6 months, put off buying them every 9 months, you know, extend them out as much as possible. Some of those types of things that would save money. So we've had those conversations. So I can't answer specifics. I can get specifics for you. But without being part of their organization, it's hard to say specifically this is the problem. Mhm. Absolutely. Yep. Like I said, we've been having the conversations for over a year now with them and expressing concerns to them. So, but we can do that. Yep.
You go ahead, you had your hand up first. All right. So, just looking at this from a business perspective, in terms of the administrative services, it's pretty horrendous. And I'm wondering what control we have as commissioners of saying, you know, you can't go over this amount on funds. Human resources I'm looking at, they did double what they were budgeted. Do we have any control over that, or it's just completely to this three-person board's discretion?
You appoint 2 of the 3 people, but those 3 people control it.
Okay, thanks.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question would be, who specifically are we summoning? And after we get that answer, I would like to make a formal motion that we request that individual to appear at the next Human Services meeting, so that way we can take Deb and Mike off the hot seat and put the individual in charge of this organization on the hot seat to answer questions for their own budget. So would that be Destiny, who you just said that we would need to?
Yes, it would be Destiny. The board is the one that approves the budget. The board approves all those types of things. The board is the one that evaluates Destiny as the director. But I think the board really needs to understand the serious concerns that we have. I've tried expressing those and have gotten some pushback. So we appoint 2 of the 3 board members. One of them is a state appointee, and we appoint the other 2.
Is it Kenny going to be chair?
Appoint 2 out of 3 people for the board. Go ahead. Yeah. One of them is Kenny Price, and one is Betsy Youngdahl.
And the other is Harry?
Harry Wilson. He's the state appointee.
Yeah.
Betsy Youngdahl. And Kenny Price are our 2 appointees. No, we don't pay them. I understand some some members of committees that we appoint do receive stipends from those committees, but we do not pay them. They may receive a stipend from the medical care, but we do not pay them.
Doc? If we are considering reappointing to these positions that are...
No, hold on. We're not that far down the road. All we're doing is asking Destiny Wilkins to come before the board is all that Daniel asked for, and come with an explanation of why their financial position is where it's at, and what their solution is in place to stop it from happening in 2020. Am I correct, Daniel?
Yes, sir. And I would like to make that a formal motion. Just a formal motion to request that Destiny Williams be present at the next Human Services meeting, be prepared with the explanation of their financial statements.
Aye.
Oh, the DHS board oversees the medical care. We'll talk about it Friday.
Does it come up, or do I need to use? Okay. Doesn't matter to me. We can do either one. Hello, how's it going? Brittany James, 4-H Program Coordinator. I usually come up here and I spend a lot of time talking about the things that I do, but I thought I'd actually take the time to talk about things that you might not know that we do. I've brought my colleagues, Angela Maniaci and Tom Guthrie. They'll speak a little bit about the projects that they're involved with as well. So for Jackson County 4-H 2019 review, we actually were able to get a renewal of the part-time position grant. So we will actually, they extended it 2 years. So our part-time program assistant will be able to stay on the next 2 years, which is really great because she's doing some great stuff for the county. We've expanded our growth into the city of Jackson through clubs and actually a couple of what we call spin clubs. So they're short-term special interest groups. So we have a geology group that meets as well as a pocket pets group, not to be confused with actual going in your pocket, but you know, your hamsters and your little guys. And then we also have strengthened our traditional programming support. Most of us, people know us as the cows, plows, and sows of the educational branch, and we do a lot more than that, but we wanted to enforce that piece as well, and we wanted to make that stronger. So actually, each one of our species has provided an educational opportunity, the project leaders and the superintendents, to make that a little bit stronger, make FAIR that much better. So last year, we actually gave over $12,000 in scholarships to local 4-H members. We have the Kyle Mason Sampson Scholarship, so if you know of any 4-Hers that have not received it before, that are graduating this year or who are in college now, as long as they meet the requirements of the scholarship, they receive the scholarship. We do not have, there's no competition, we don't set aside a number that we're going to give. As long as they meet the requirements, they're eligible for the scholarship and they will receive it. It's a $750 scholarship at that. So, and if you know some kids that might want to be 4-H members, it's a good way to hook them too. For our outreach programming, this is actually a program that our part-time program assistant has been working on. It's a partnership with the South Central Michigan Virtual School. She goes in there once a week, meeting with 2 different age groups, and gives the kids an opportunity to meet with their peers and learn some life skills. So they've been doing animal care, geology, art, and gardening, but she takes that opportunity to teach them some life skills and give them some leadership experience. So not only are they working on these projects, but they're also doing some public speaking, and they're scheduling an art night and trying to not only do the projects, but show them off and be able to talk about them. So looking forward into 2020, something that we're going to be working on is actually piloting a curriculum related to social emotional well-being. The 2 curriculums that I'm going to be working with are Mindful Me, which is it's for 5 to 8-year-olds, and it's 10 one-hour activities that goes through mindfulness and teaching those skills to youth. So everything from mindful eating to self-esteem building and even physical activity. And then Your Thoughts Matter is actually a curriculum for teenagers. And so each one of them gets a workbook, and you work through that, just kind of establishing that mindfulness. And then we're expanding our STEAM programming offerings. The Jackson County 4-H Foundation has set aside some money to work on doing some STEAM curriculum. So we are open to ideas for curriculum or any of the program areas that you might see that are needed in the county, but they have set aside some money, and we're going to be working through that for 2020. So, and then of course we have FAIR and all of the other things that we do, but I thought I'd talk a little bit about those things that you might not know we do. I'm going to pass it off to Tom Guthrie, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the projects he's working on, and we'll have some time at the end for questions.
Just the arrow button.
Just the arrow.
All right. Greetings. Yep, Tom Guthrie, MSU Extension. Just give you a brief update on a couple of one program actually that I've been working on for the past couple of years, and that's being prepared for an accident involving livestock. The large semi-trailers that are hauling livestock down the road, or horse trailers, or anybody really essentially hauling livestock up and down the road. In April of 2018, we did a workshop for first responders on how to respond to this type of an accident. Many of you may know that we had an accident here in Jackson County, down off of Moscow Road in August of 2018. We had another one over on the west side of the state, southwest side of the state, on July 2019, and then we held another training in September of 2019. So there still appears to be a need for this type of training. The trainings involve bringing first responders in that may not have a lot of large animal and livestock experience, so we're trying to give those opportunities to them to be able to handle horses, cows, pigs, goats, that sort of thing. So if they roll up onto an accident like this, they have some sort of knowledge on potentially how to deal with it. So between those two workshops, we've had 140 trained participants. We're currently planning another workshop in Northeast Michigan in September of 2020. We're in the process right now of converting those workshops, what we do in those workshops, to online modules. So individuals that can't make a workshop can actually go online, and there are 12 modules they can work through to try to get the basis down for some type of experience. We're hoping to have those available online in August of 2020. So the next step that we've taken this to is looking at emergency response trailers. So the two pictures that you see here, and we're not talking about response trailers that are going to come and load up the animals. We're talking about emergency response trailers that are loaded with equipment that can handle this type of situation, which could be gates, panels, lights, sorting boards for pigs, that sort of thing. Any type of equipment that can be useful in handling large animals. And as you can see here, we already have one trailer that's fully funded down in Branch County, and these circles indicate the other areas of the state that we would like to get these emergency response trailers located. So within this county here, we've been working very closely with Jason Brining. Jason actually invited us to come talk to the emergency management group in February, and then we also talked with the Jackson County Fire Chiefs, looking at the potential of getting a response trailer located here within the county. Obviously with 94, the corridor of 94 and 127, running through the county, this would be an excellent spot to locate one of those trailers. Just on Friday, I was headed up to campus, and I passed two livestock haulers coming down 127 just north of town. So they're running through here. So funding for emergency response trailers. So we're looking at a trailer such as this, as you see on the right, that would be the basic model with equipment in there. It's about $12,000. So you got about $6,000 for the trailer and $6,000 for the equipment. We, as an extension, have went to our industry partners, agriculture groups, and tried to raise some money, some funds for this type of trailer. And so in Branch County, due to the generosity of the National Pork Board and the Michigan Pork Producers Association, we have a trailer fully funded. They're in the process of getting that all in place as it stands right now. If we can locate these trailers into a location where we can respond within a 45-minute period, that would be outstanding. So what we've done here with the remaining funds that we've had raised from industry support, when we were talking with Jason and the fire chiefs, we are willing to take some of that industry fundraising effort that we've done and put $3,000 to start the campaign here in Jackson County to get a trailer placed here. Okay? And after talking with the fire chiefs, it appears that they may have an idea that they may already have a trailer in place that they could potentially do this. So that's $6,000 off the plate right there. If we put this three in, we're $3,000 away potentially of getting something like that here. So that's what we're working towards. And then the last slide I have is, this is a value of tourism in your region. This is an event that's being put on by our tourism group within MSU Extension. It's going to be held on March 24th in Tecumseh, Michigan. There's no cost to it, and there's also a link to register. And so it just says, leaders and organizations interested in learning more about the significance of tourism. So if you're interested in that. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Don't go away.
Oh, sorry.
Any questions, commissioners? I have one.
Yeah.
Okay. With that episode of Moscow Road,
Yes, sir.
okay, and so on, I was told, because I live out there, that a lot of the local farmers came and took the pigs and put them in their barns or whatever else to do that. Now, you said that these trailers, you're teaching these people to small animals, okay, and so on, not horses and cows and so on. So is there any attempt to get the local farmers involved in this? Because they take care of the big animals, and they're the ones most experienced.
Yeah, the local farmers typically will respond if they can. We are very fortunate with the location. I mean, it was an unfortunate event, but where it happened, we were very fortunate that it happened there because the farmers around the area brought equipment in to be able to help out. All I can keep thinking about is out here on 94 right now with where all the road construction's going on. What happens if you have an accident right there?
Pork barbecue.
You know, but that just keeps rolling through my mind, you know. But typically, you know, if something like that happens, just like it happened in Moscow Road, farmers found out about it and then they gathered resources and came to help.
All right, thank you.
I think one of the things, because I asked Tom a similar question about the trailer, and one of the nice things about it is that the farmers will bring the trailers to transport the animals, but if you've got a cattle farmer coming in and you don't have pig sorting boards, you're not going to get them up on the trailer.
Yeah, this is specifically just with the equipment to set up to contain animals, right? I mean, if something dumps over on 94, we've got panels and gates and things like that to be able to contain animals that are from that trailer from running across the interstate. Or, you know, until you can get other trailers to bring in to get the animals, if they need to be, located onto that trailer and off-site. So, yep.
You have the value of tourism in our region. Is there a way that you would consider doing that in Jackson County? If we were to make some time available at a county commission meeting on Tuesday night or something like that? Or Tuesday morning?
I would have to talk to our extension group that's putting this on.
Because I'm thinking of the amount of trails and waterways and everything that cross here in Jackson County. And it would probably help educate commissioners, supervisors, trustees, and everything in the townships to understand what the true dollar impact is to developing a recreational system like what we have in Jackson County.
Sure.
Because, you know, right now, you're a total of 9 minutes from a boat launch here in Jackson County. You're going to be less than 7 minutes from a canoe or kayak launch that's barrier-free. You're going to have access to the Blue Water Trail, the Iron Bell Trail, and all the other trails in Michigan. And you have an exciting downtown that would be directly impacted by that with the restaurants and everything. That's why I'm wondering if if we made time available, if there's a way that you could do that type of presentation here.
Yeah, we can talk to our group that's putting on this
Thank
one.
you.
And yep. Anything else? Thanks for your time.
Hello, my name's Angela. Good to see a few new faces here. So I teach nutrition and physical activity education. That includes cooking skills and food resource management and budgeting skills to Jackson County. I thought I'd throw in some numbers from last year that were recently reported. So in fiscal year 2019, which runs from October 1st through September 30th, so we're about halfway through that right now, we reached over 22,000 adults in the entire state under the grant that I am in. I'm currently the only instructor in Jackson County, but we are hiring somebody else to hopefully increase these numbers for the next year. For our surveyed adults, about a third used less sodium when preparing meals, and over 40% ate more fruits and vegetables every day after the conclusion of our 6-week programs. We also report using a shopping list more often, comparing prices, which is something that we teach in our classes, how to do unit pricing, planning meals in advance, which also helps lead to better nutritional habits, and also budget friendly. And then also using nutrition facts to make healthy choices. I bet you probably about half of the people I come across do not know how to read a food label. So that is something that we do in several of my classes to teach people how to read food labels, or at least recognize, if they can't read, some of the things that they can recognize on there. I have about 10 curriculum that I do over the course of the year, but I wanted to talk about a couple that are really prominent, keep getting requests for, and I've already done a bunch for this year. One is Cooking for One, and I've already had 6 classes of Cooking for One since October 1st, and I already have 3 more scheduled before June, and I anticipate I'll have 3 or 4 more scheduled before the end of the fiscal year. Averaging about 10 participants per class for this. It's a 2-hour class, so it has cooking skills and nutrition education. It's pretty fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think the participants are. We are continuing our offender success partnership with MDOC and doing another class for parolees. They, in the past and present, are funding groceries for a class up in Livingston County with one of my counterparts, and so they are doing that here with us now in Jackson County. So the participants after the cooking class actually get to take home some groceries from the recipes that we did that day in class. So we are doing that. We start that the first week of May, and we'll hopefully continue that and do a couple of those as a year would be my goal. Another program I wanted to highlight was Teen Cuisine. I have a huge uptake in my teen cooking classes, nutrition, cooking, and we do talk about food budgeting and food label reading as well, just like with the adults. It's anywhere from 6th through 12th grade. For example, Rise Above, Ackerson. We are going to a lot of the alternative educations because they have the flexibility in their schedule to let me come in and do a 90-minute to 2-hour class with the kids 6 times. We also go into the Youth Detention Center and come up with very creative recipes to do there for them. So that is I have a huge impact, I think, with the teens, and I love seeing them grow. I have actually had students ask me if they can take the class again, and as they turn 18, we actually are able to accept volunteers now, so I'm telling them that if they want to help more and they're over 18, then they could help me potentially volunteer over the summer. And one other program is Spartan Performance. For example, Springport High School Wrestling and the Jackson High School Girls Basketball team have gone through this already this year. We do nutrition for athletes, and their parents can also attend this if they're able to. And you can do this as a series over a course of a few weeks or as a one-time, about an hour-and-a-half presentation. And that is it. Any questions? Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Any questions for Brittany?
I thought we were doing it at the end.
That's okay. Yeah.
Well, you guys know where to find me. I'll see you all at the Fair Board meeting anyway. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next is the four.
Okay, good afternoon. To start off with, just wanted to tell you that we've got, unfortunately, 7 vacancies at the Health Department at this time. 2 of them in our Health Education, Health Promotion area. We're in the process actually today of interviewing for one of them. 2 of them are in our Personal Health and Preventive Services area, and one that includes a social worker as well as 1 nurse. 2 in our Environmental Health area, and 1 that's dear to my heart is my administrative assistant is retiring. As far as the environmental health one, I know that many of you have some concerns about the delay in service that this is creating in terms of, new home inspections, that sort of thing, new site evaluations. The good news is that we're filling our type 2 sanitarian position. We've got 2 sanitarians, and we've got individuals who've applied for that one that are probably better suited for the other one. So, good thing is we've got applications that we can potentially look at. And with Mike's encouragement, we're going to try to get that posted as soon as possible so we can, narrow that gap in that delay of services. I'll move on to the 2019 novel coronavirus, affectionately known as COVID-19, in the media right now. Our staff has been working tremendously hard, participating in phone calls with the state, other local health departments, keeping up with all the ever-evolving information that's coming across. Just to give you a bit of background information, as many of you probably already know, it is a virus that typically includes a fever, as well as lower respiratory symptoms, but could potentially lead to severe illness and pneumonia, or pneumonia, I should actually say. So worldwide, there's about 77,000 cases. That number's probably increased in the time that I was just sitting here. In China, however, there's 35 other countries that are also impacted, the United States included. Fortunately, here in Michigan, we don't have cases, nor do we have any in Jackson County. At this time. However, we did monitor, one of the activities that we do is that we monitor what are known as potential persons under investigation. So these are folks that are being screened at the airport and potentially asked, did you travel to China during this time frame? And then we're hearing about the fact that, they may be a resident of our county. So we had 3 individuals in Jackson that we monitored over the course of 14 days, and fortunately all of them came up without symptoms. So that was really good. So we continue to get notifications of those. We're pushing to get notification of any individuals that are traveling, especially to those impacted countries, because, timing is critical in this, and we want to ensure that we're being proactive in isolating and monitoring them, hopefully, and if needed, testing. One thing you won't see in this report, because this just came out Friday during a call with the state, is the testing procedures. Now we're getting a few collection kits, that's to collect samples. However, in order to submit samples, we still have to work with the state health department, the lab there, because they have the ability to actually test the samples. And then if those, get to a certain point, then moving on to the CDC lab, things like that. So we're hoping still for like a 1-day turnaround time, maybe 2 days with the time it takes to get things to the state or to the CDC. But we're really trying to ramp up our testing efforts there, so that we're not slowing down in terms of that time frame as well. Let me just make sure, sorry. And then the other piece is I wanted to mention that, again, with Mike's encouragement here, I've been sending, I will be from now on sending weekly information to all the county employees, sort of to allay those fears and concerns about things you're seeing in the media, what are we dealing with in our county. Commissioner Alwell, I know, has asked me some questions regarding the jail. We're working on getting a response for you in regards to that. We've also sent quite a bit of information out to special groups, and those would be considered our schools, nursing homes, our first responders, EMS providers, things like that. So, making sure that we're getting them specialized information on what they can do to help with their populations and educate their clients.
Commissioner Elwell has a question.
Yeah, so Rashmi hit on it, and for the benefit of the commissioners, I asked her Friday after the piece we got from her, if there was any conversations going on with the jail in the event it should show up there, if they're asking any type of questions on screening on entry, and if it should show up, what's the plan going to be if we know it? But when you can answer that, if you can just give it, I think, to Mike or to all commissioners, that would be fine.
Sure.
Thank you.
I can say that we did create a document for our first responders, so police, fire, EMS. That was a screening questionnaire, that's sort of an algorithm that followed, did you travel outside of the United States? Okay, yes, no, what do you do? And it followed like a pretty easy pattern there. So we, that was more for folks that are out in the roads, like picking either, addressing with EMS concerns or, road patrol or anything of that nature. So just part of that question is answered there. Sure.
I don't know if you can answer this. the flu every year causes, 400,000 plus cases of flu, and it's got a 20 to 60,000 death rate, because of it. And it usually happens in elderly, debilitated people with secondary morbidities. Symptoms are the same, okay?
Correct.
Fever, okay, malaise,
Sure.
all those,
Yeah.
the three things. So how do you distinguish between, how can we, I don't know if there's an answer to that, between whether the person has the flu or the coronavirus?
Sure.
And is the coronavirus really that deadly and that much of a problem? Because it seems like the media has made it that way, when if they compared it to the influenza virus, there's no comparison. I mean,
Right.
it's,
So I'll answer two pieces to that. One is that, yes, the only way to know for certain the definitive distinction is to submit a sample and then get that, whether that coronavirus, shows up positive in that individual or not. A lot of what we're running into is the symptoms, as you mentioned, are mimicked, between the two. Very hard to distinguish between the two unless you do that definitive test. But, also understand that there's those screening questions. We're not necessarily submitting every single, flu sample that comes in. Doctors, what they normally do, if you walked in today and said, hey, I'm feeling like I've got flu-like things going on, they'll typically run you through what's known as a respiratory panel, and then what they'll do is rule out certain, whether you've got influenza A or B, or, what are you dealing with? And then if it gets to the point, like, we're still not seeing it, folks, like, we need to start testing, maybe we need to test for coronavirus here. So it's not like every single person, presenting with flu-like is going to come up with that. And I appreciate you also explaining the whole piece of, the mortality rate. However, I think it's too soon to tell. Even the CDC will say that. Well, I say 77,000 in China, and it appears to be a very large number. Understand we're still learning so much more about this virus each and every day. A lot of those that you may be seeing who have died will be those that are probably have underlying conditions. Elderly, children don't seem to be affected at this point as far as the numbers they're seeing
they're
of
affected,
those
but
that are
they're
dying.
not affected.
Right,
severe.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they may not even be showing with symptoms, technically. So yes, you're correct in that regard. But, so we continually learn more. So I don't want to say for certain, the mortality rate's that much higher. The numbers do, probably alarm folks, but understand, there's the seasonal flu as well, and, there's a vaccine for that. So, there's ways to protect yourself, or common sense things you can do to be proactive in protecting yourself from this as well. We haven't taken it to the point of doing community mitigation strategies, meaning, closing schools or large events, things like that. There are certain trigger points that get us to that. We don't have any cases here in Michigan, again, and none in Jackson County. So, if it gets to that point, I certainly will be working with Mike and our emergency manager to institute those activities if need be. We look at daily absence reports from the schools, even when it comes to seasonal flu. And if you're seeing a high number of students showing up ill, showing up absent, what's going on here? Like, is there something happening? Things like that. So, we do quite a bit of surveillance around that to keep our eye on that.
Thank you.
Yep. Moving on to another communicable disease is tuberculosis. This has certainly kept us busy. I've told you a lot about this since the summer. Right now, we're monitoring about 5 active cases of tuberculosis in our county. 4 of those cases are a continuation of cases that were identified and began treatment in 2019. So when I say we're treating these individuals, this means the nurse is going to the home on a daily basis and administering medication until we get to that point where we're seeing negative tests and the TB is no longer growing within the individual. One case was newly clinically diagnosed, and we're waiting culture confirmation on that. To date, all persons continue to be cooperative with treatment, which is good news, meaning they're, answering the door or, answering our phone calls and continue to be cooperative with us. Speaking of the seasonal flu, just giving you a little bit of an idea here, It is technically still flu season, not too late to get your flu shot, and the health department can certainly provide that for you, or you have any number of other facilities and organizations that are continuing to give the flu shot. We have about a 25.1% rate in our ages 6 months to 17 years within our children group, which is pretty good considering it's close to the state rate of 25.6%. The U.S. rate is obviously considerably higher given the population, 62.6. In the adult area, we're actually higher than the state average there, 33.8%, so we're doing pretty well. So we continue to promote the education and promote the flu shot as we can. Want to thank all of you in supporting, us being able to vaccinate the county employees and protect them and keep them safe as well. Moving on to environmental health, we have our Fisher Mobile Home Park. I'll just give you a brief update. EH has been informed by the Napoleon Township Supervisor that they have requested their legal counsel concerning possible court action for properly abandoning and clearing the mobile home park. This is the mobile home park, if you will, that you recall that we had to condemn, and therefore had individuals that had to leave their property and their homes. So this would include demolishing and removal of the structures, well abandonment, as well as rezoning of the property. So we're trying to work with the ownership group, who's out of Canada, to provide an opportunity to take action for them to clean up this property prior to any initiated court action that we may have to take. So it's been somewhat challenging communicating with them, so we'll continue to push that and try to get them to be involved and responsible for that cleanup effort. Finally, I wanted to just report on each month I had promised that I would report on a program at the health department, just to give you an idea of what we do and the value of it. Today I wanted to highlight the Taking Pride in Prevention. We have a coordinator that oversees that program, which unfortunately is vacant right now, but today we're working on filling that position. So this program educates adolescents 12 to 19 years old on both abstinence and contraception through the implementation of an evidence-based program called the Teen Outreach Program. So we do a number of things in addition to the Preventing Pregnancy, as known by our name, as well as information on sexually transmitted infections, including HIV/AIDS, and incorporate the 3 following adulthood preparation subjects, so getting ready for these teens to enter into adulthood. 1 is healthy relationships, 2, adolescent development, and 3, parent-child communications. So as you can see, it really is about the whole child development here. It's not just about that preventing teen pregnancy. It's really about, positive youth development and things like that. So some of our successes in this area is that we do work with the area alternative schools, meaning, these do reach a number of our high-risk teens. We've had great participation there. Over 30 students have initiated the Pathways curriculum. 20 have gone through Pathways. 30 have gone through Pathways. 20 have gone through Fort Street Learning Center. 15 have gone through T.A. Wilson, and 35 have gone through our Western Career Prep, just to give you an idea of those various locations of where a lot of those at-risk youth typically go to school. We've also instituted, our outreach program and had great working relationship with the administration at those various schools to be able to institute our program. The other piece that we're very proud of is that we have authentic teen engagement, meaning we have a teen advisory council that we build each year, and that's really about getting advice, feedback. The growth of that is really seen through the youths themselves. So we help them to, bring forward their ideas. We have 7 seniors that have graduated from our teen advisory council, and we've had about a total 22 youths that have been interested in being a part of that council, and we continue to value that feedback and grow that council as we can. We recently got funding from Jackson Community Foundation for our teen advisory councils to do some media pieces, and namely they did 3 videos, which are really great. If you hadn't had a chance to go out to our health department website, I encourage you to do so. And one of them is about the health department building itself and our sexual health clinic, showing people what it's like and trying to dispel any myths or stigma that people see associated with coming to our clinic. The other is how easy it is to obtain condoms for free at the health department, and again, in a more sensitive environment, trying to be friendly and welcoming, so teens will continue to visit us. And third is what to expect during a visit to our sexual health clinic. So, we're very proud of these, and that, again, it helps to dispel the myths and, try to get teens to be comfortable coming to our facility. We've reached about 32,000 people with the boost of our first video, 15,000 when our second video came out, and about 20,000 when our third video came out. So clearly, these videos are ways to reach teens, and, we'll continue to use social media efforts and other efforts to try to reach them. Couple challenges, finally, that I just wanted to bring forward is that a lot of these schools, particularly Jackson Public Schools, work on a trimester schedule, so that gets to be somewhat challenging to work within that schedule in that time frame, because we try to institute this program as an evidence-based, and we try to do it within a minimum of 20 weeks. So trying to cram that all in and get it in within their schedules, is somewhat challenging, but we try to make it happen. The other piece is the incoming students. Some schools, have this rolling enrollment where they'll continually have new students, and that gets to be challenging because we want to assure that they're completing the full curriculum. And so, sometimes it's been upwards of 75% of them can't complete the full program because of the time that they're entering into the program. So that gets to be challenging, but, we try to make it work, and clearly we're, open to students joining in when they can, and, try to help them out at whatever stage they are in their life at that point. So I guess that brings me to the end of my report, unless anyone has any questions. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. I think last time you had asked for some data and some graphs, so you'll see some graphs on the back page. This is our teen birth rate. I only have it for 2017, I apologize, but that's the latest that we've got. So you can see Jackson County compared to the city, Michigan, as well as United States. So as you can see, our numbers are higher than Michigan, as well as the U.S., as far as Jackson County goes. And these are per 1,000 females in the 15 to 19 age group. So that's why we continue to have programs such as this. We are one of 13 cities that are funded by the state, and so, we're also working on that city rate. But understand that's, again, concentrated within the numbers in the city and, the number of teens and birth rate that you might be looking at there. So clearly we have more work to do, so we continue around this effort, and we continue to encourage a program like this that is funded by the state. So the state sees us as a great model, and, we've had a lot of success in what we've been doing so far. So I'll knock on wood there, because you know how state funding goes and that kind of thing. So hopefully we keep our funding going. That was actually the end of it, so.
Good afternoon, Rashmi. Thank you very much. First of all, for the follow-up information on the STI rates in Jackson, as well as that last graph on the teen pregnancy rates from 2017. I would be interested to see if those rates are moving down from previous years, if that's possible. But the two questions that I had, one, it may have been answered kind of under the administration situation you were talking about with being down 7 employees right now. But I've gotten quite a few questions and phone calls from constituents who are asking about inspections. So I guess the first question that I would have is I'm not sure if you're the proper person to direct these questions to, but I'll pose the questions to you.
Sure.
The first question is, what is the normal turnaround time that somebody should have to wait for an inspection? A couple of people have told me that they were told 30 days, and it's been closer to like 90 or more days at this point. The second question that I have, Rashmi, is the fees that we charge for inspections are going to be going up as of April.
Right.
For individuals who have already paid for their inspection and are just waiting for us to come and inspect them, if that inspection doesn't take place until after those new rates take effect, how is that going to affect that individual? Are they going to be expected to pay the difference, or how is that going to work out
Right. Well, so we did, I think, with the commissioner approval, we raised those fees in November, technically. And so there were, not all of the age fees, but the majority of them, we did raise because we hadn't done it for like 10 years, I believe. So we sent out notices with our fee schedule saying, you know, these are the rates. What some of these fees that we're going to be seeing in these warmer months here, which is what I'm hoping will help cover the salary of the sanitarian that we're hoping to bring back, are like our pool schedules, you know, our inspections for pools, things like that. So the new fees are already out there, so individuals should be paying what that new rate is, again, with the commissioner approval that we got in November from that schedule, so.
Just want to clarify my question. For individuals who have already paid the
Right.
old rate, even though we
Oh, I
approved
see
it in
what you're saying.
November,
Right.
there's individuals who I spoke to who already paid and are waiting for an inspection to happen, which means they paid prior to that change happening.
Right.
So I'm curious, with them still waiting,
Yeah,
they're going to be expected to pay the new rate or the
Well,
old rate?
they really shouldn't if they paid, you know, previously, and, you know, really, those should take priority. We shouldn't be making people wait that long, given that that was months ago that that new fee schedule went into place, you know, and it's really not fair to raise their fee, given that that's been a delay on our part, you know what I mean? So I would say no. I can get clarification from Don on how we're handling those. But yeah, certainly if that's a delay on our part, you know, it's not fair to the individual to raise that up, so.
There, Mr. Chair. Yeah, if someone applied for, what kind of fee are we talking here?
This individual has a food cart.
Food cart?
And they've paid for their inspection. They were told, oh, it should
Back in
take us about.
October, I'm talking here. If somebody applied for inspection in October and we haven't inspected it, no, whatever they paid is fine. Obviously, it's 2020. Any new people coming in and for applying, they're going to pay the new rate. Anything after November, of course.
Right.
But, you know,
That's great to hear. My next question, Mike, would be.
I want to understand how it's that long.
It shouldn't
You're
be
talking 4 or
that
5
long.
months.
That's what my next question was going to be, is what's the general turnaround time for somebody to get an inspection after they've submitted their paperwork and paid for it?
Yeah, it's not no 4 or 5 months. I don't know
It
what
shouldn't
that
be
is.
that long. Yeah, I think that 30 days is probably reasonable, but even there, like for new home inspections, you know, there's a number of other steps. Obviously, you know, those who've bought homes know that. Like, our piece of all of that, of inspecting a property for the new home inspection, or new site inspections, is a small piece of that, right? I mean, you're dealing with the banks, you're dealing with the real estate agent. I mean, there's a whole host of other steps you need to take. So really, you know, I don't know for certain about the 30 days, I can check into that, but, you know, I would ask Commissioner Mahoney, if, you know, you have somebody that's waited before the November date even, like, you know, please let us know, because we certainly don't want it to linger on for months. Right now, I think the turnaround time is like somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hoping closer to the 4 range than the 6-week range. But yeah, that's certainly longer than we really need it to be. So I'm hoping we can get this position filled and, you know, get back to getting the right, you know, a certain number of inspections per sanitarian and that kind of thing. So, but please do let me know if this, you know, October timeframe, as Mike said, you know, shouldn't be happening. I apologize if it's been that long, but really it shouldn't be, so.
Doc,
Any other questions?
can I ask a question? Rashmi, would it make sense if there's that extended of a wait and it's going to be that long to get new people trained? Would it make sense to contact a surrounding county to see if they could assist for a fee for us?
Well, so some of these applications that we've gotten in, they are individuals that are already trained, either from working at a local health department or have done inspections before. You know, we can certainly try that. We have what are called mutual aid agreements with other counties. You know, I don't know for certain if some of them are doing really well in, you know, turnaround times and things like that. You know, there's something to be said about someone locally who knows, you know, what kind of soils we have and, you know, that sort of thing. But, you know, I'm anticipating the training time won't take, you know, as long if we can potentially find somebody who's already, you know, a registered sanitarian or something like that. But yes, that's certainly an option, Commissioner Alwell, that we could.
In 3 or 4 months, that might make more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good report.
I'm gonna go interview people now.
Now, Marcy, I have you in the right order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon, Marcy.
First on the agenda is a request for approval to purchase meal trays for our Meals on Wheels. There's 2 different sizes, and we're ordering a large quantity so that we get a price break per case. And according to board policy, any purchase order over $25,000 and under $75,000 needs to be approved by the committee that the Department on Aging reports to, and that's this Human Services Committee. Any questions about the meal trays?
Corey?
Yep. Just what happened to the old ones, wear and tear, or?
They're disposable.
Oh.
So they're made of pressed paper and microwavable, they can be frozen, and then have a cellophane on the top that's gas permeable. So it's Meals on Wheels.
We find that more cost effective than picking it up and washing them.
Right.
Okay.
And the time saved, it's a conveyor belt that puts the cellophane on the top, and, yep.
What's the cost for the new trays?
Hold on. $72,266.88. Per tray? I can tell you per case, $215.08 per case. And there are, I'm trying to remember how many, thank you, 800 trays in a case. So this should last us almost a year. We also use these trays when people want a cold meal after their hot meal at a senior site. They can take a cold meal home for supper, so we use it for those as well. So it's frozen meals, hot meals, cold meals for Meals on Wheels, and then cold meals for congregate meals as well. So I think we need a motion, yeah. Question?
Did I hear you correctly that you think this purchase would provide you all you need for a year?
Almost a year, not quite. When I do the math on how many meals we're providing, it probably would be a couple weeks shy of a full year. About 1,200, the packaged meals, it's about 1,050 meals a day.
So any other questions, Commissioners? Second.
Support.
No, it can be approved by because it's, yeah.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Okay, Marcy, you got your trays.
Thank you. Right. So the next on the agenda is senior millage. And Mike, did you want to?
You can take us through.
Questions?
Okay.
The chair said questions here.
Questions, Commissioners?
Okay. So at the study session, I do appreciate you bringing in a 2-tier, but I don't see that here unless I missed it. I went through it quickly this morning. The 0.5 option, it is in here. I'm sorry.
Oh, my apology.
It was in this.
Thought
You had it in the study session.
Right.
End of your presentation there shows the 0.5 senior millage.
Am I
And
looking
then
past
she
it?
talks to there about the service reductions, that sort of thing that she would have. And,
There it is.
you know,
Okay.
Okay. So I gave a brief overview at Leone Township's meeting and was met afterwards by several people asking, what the increase was needed for, and I explained. And generally, the people that approach you are not in favor of it, so I take that into account, but they wondered why the option of staying where they're at and the option of what your department's requesting, why they both couldn't be on the ballot.
Like separate
Initiatives, yeah.
ballot proposals?
I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but I did say I would ask here at the meeting and see what the rest of the commissioners thought.
The current level is .25.
And from what I saw in all the other counties, they're 0.5 or higher.
Yes. Mhm. The average is .59. Other counties similar in size that provide in-home services as well as senior site services are .60 to .75. So it sounds like the question is whether to have two ballot proposals. One is a renewal of .25 and then a separate one of .6.
If that's what you want, yeah.
Can't do the math in my head. Additional, excuse me, yeah, an additional amount. 0.35.
That would be difficult for the voters to analyze in the booth, okay, whether the keeping it the way it is or raising it up, whether that's an addition, okay, or subtraction, pardon me? Whether it's addition or subtraction, okay, or is it 0.3 to higher and so on. I mean, I just see that that's confusion.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave?
If I may, Marcy, is there something in here that would talk about what cuts would have to be made if you maintained it at .25? You've got the comparison of .5 versus .6. But if it stays at .25, we're either going to have to cut something county level or reduce funding to them.
Right.
So have you talked about that in this proposal or not?
Not in this particular one. I do know, though, that based on our grants, it would basically be our grants and the matching for those grants. It would be very pared down. But like you mentioned, it depends on what other funding is available just to provide general fund support for the Department on Aging.
So our general fund provides how much ballpark overall annually for all the programs?
$743,000. She's got it in the thing
Yeah, I'm
here.
scrolling through looking for it here.
It's the pie
I
chart.
see, yep, I'm there. Thank you.
So, in effect, you list here if service reduction options of 0.5 mils, one would be closed nutrition sites, two, reduce home care assistance, 15%, 42 fewer seniors served each month, and then cap Meals on Wheels clients served, 548 receive meals each day currently. Do you think that would significantly affect our senior population?
Yes. What this is a two-page list of options, and depending on if it is .5, then we would be talking about, of these options, which three would be the programs that would be changing. It wouldn't be all of them. But some programs, by reducing them or eliminating them, save more money than others. So we would, if it is .50, these are the possibilities of things that would change by having .50 mils. But yes, with the Meals on Wheels, part of the situation is a social worker sees each person initially in every 6 months. And as the number of people grow who receive meals, the more in-home assessments we have to do, so we need staff to be able to do that. So if we don't have the staff to do that, we'd have to cap the number of people getting meals. That's one example.
Closing nutrition sites, having Crouch Senior Center only, that's another possibility. Reducing home care by 2 part-time workers, that's the 15%. Less staff time for when people have questions about Medicare. Not installing grab bars. Again, these are possibilities if it's at .50 mils.
Marcy, so from what we've heard this morning, okay, about the medical care facility and how much they're losing, okay, if we didn't do this, would we have a lot more people going to medical care facility?
In my opinion, yes. That's one of the, by the county providing services that people prefer in their home, that's their preference to age in place. But also, it costs less than prematurely going into a long-term care facility or a nursing home. Price comparisons are quite dramatic. It costs less to live in your own home in the community, and it's preferred by most people and family members.
So it would cost the county more money in the long run.
Potentially.
Any other questions, commissioners? Yes.
And this is just for clarification. So I noticed that that the motion requested is from 2020 to 2029, but then all of the other documentation shows that the millage will cover from 2021 to 2030. I just wanted to make sure that the language was correct on there. I didn't know if that should be which one it should be, or if that just reflects the time that the money is collected, because it'd be after.
Yeah, you put the millage at 20 because we send out the bills in December. It'd be collected in 21.
Okay, thank you. I would also offer a motion to move this to the full board.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? All in favor? Opposed?
Okay. Thank you. Oh, my monthly report, any questions? We applied for some grant funds from 2 sources. When we find out if we received any funding for chore grab bars or exercise classes, I'll let you know. And then there's also a list in the report of donations from different community groups that the Department on Aging received in 2019. And Soups On for Seniors is a fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. That's tomorrow night.
And that's an item that doesn't appear in this budget, correct? Buying that, helping for that vehicle?
Right.
The private sector helps us pay for a vehicle for our Meals on Wheel, and it's replacing how old a vehicle?
2006. So in my calculations of how much money do we need to get us through 2029, it includes Friends of Jackson Seniors raising enough money for 1 meal van a year. So, okay, anything? All right,
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you,
Marcy,
Yeah.
thank you for all your hard work with the Department on Aging.
Oh,
I've had the pleasure of working with you since you've come back to us, first as deputy and then as director, and it's been a wonderful experience.
No, thank you.
Okay, next is the claims, which we won't do because it's not here. And next is 5B, other minutes. Any other minutes? Next is C, April reporting schedule. And then after that is public comments. Any public comments? If not, we will go past that. Committee member comments.
Just want to say it's good to have you back, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you. We're adjourned. Is that okay, commissioners?